Hello,
Hello.
Hello.
we are back from
Hi.
Japan. No, but it is related to our topic for tonight. And so this evening, yes, Gio, thank you. So this evening, we're joining LUG rather no, not join. We are LUGN Level Up Geek Nights. Doing a session on anime. So last time we tackled gaming. Now we're doing another topic which is quite becoming more mainstream, especially with big channels like Netflix, Amazon, and these other major streaming sites picking up all this new, well, not really new, all this content from Japan. So, our topic for tonight is anime. What is anime? Is it good for you? And joining me are our regular core panel members, starting with John. Can you introduce yourself, bro?
Oh, JB, no mic though. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Ah, konbanwa. We sports anime. Thanks,
JB,
John.
you can't be heard.
All right, so next up is Geo. Hey, Geo.
Hey.
Can you share to us your anime life or
Ooh,
interests?
favorite animes. I mean, there's so many. The ones I'm really into right now are currently watching Dog Horizon. Favorites though are like
Mm,
Tensura and Knockout.
Knockout. That sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
the boxing one. The boxing.
Oh, Hajime no Ippo.
Hmm. But it's
Right.
Knockout in when it's anime.
In English. Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
JB Vince said your mic you can't be heard.
Can barely be heard. That's what subtitles are for. No, I'm kidding.
No,
But
no, he
well,
can't be heard. Not barely. JB doesn't have a his mic isn't going through. No, I
anyhow, seems to be working. Seems to be working now. So let's move on to our lady of the house, Ninai. Hello.
Hello. Um, Hajimemashite. Watashi wa ninai desu. Yoroshiku
Oh,
onegaishimasu.
nice, nice.
So my my favorite anime, well, I don't know, like my favorite anime usually is the current anime that I'm watching. So the current one I'm watching is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood,
Hmm, classic.
and Attack on Titan because I'm mainstream like that. So
All right. Okay, okay. So just to wrap things up, I'm John as well, or John G or John 3, and my favorite anime of all time probably would be uh Samurai X or Rurouni Kenshin, and I'll throw in two others, Kingdom, and the last one would be actually yeah, also Knockout slash Hajime no Ippo, the boxing anime or manga. So so to fans of anime, they probably might have heard of these titles, but for people who have no idea what anime is or who are just new to the entire thing, would be like, okay, what is this stuff? Ano ba to? Right? So, for that reason, our starting question for the night is intended for people who are quite new to things or who are not very familiar with things. And yeah, we're gonna go into that and explain a bit more of what this entire anime thing is. So, the first question is we are gonna talk about what anime is, where it's coming from, and what are the genres in anime. For that, I would like to pass on things to my brother John to start things off. And then we'll go, yep.
Let me check. I don't think it was you being the mic not being close enough. Let me check.
Mm. Thanks, sirs. Oh,
No, I sobrang lakas ng no, sorry.
JB, it's still not working. I don't think it's about it being close enough.
oh, it's a technical thing.
Yeah, but I'm trying. Yeah, the thing is, like, yeah,
All right.
it's with your mic. So
Is it
fix your
working
mic right now
now?
while we discuss the other stuff, right?
Yeah, I'll repeat what I said. Hi guys. Sorry. Yeah, okay. I think I know what the problem was. So anyway, again, hi.
Lost in translation.
Lost in translation. So, uh, Pau said that his favorite anime is Yu Yu Hakusho, Ghost Fighter, and Vince says that he's not an otaku. What is
It's your
anime
turn.
daw? So,
Mm. We're here for you, and we're gonna explain to you what an anime is, but we don't believe you, Vince. Anyway,
so
Okay,
anyway, what
rinig
is
niyo daw,
anime?
rinig niyo
And
daw.
well, basically anime is short for the word animation. No, Japanese people are often shorten words for their convenience. No, so anime is a specific genre of animation because like unlike cartoons, I guess, where the audience are usually children, although of course adults like us watch cartoons as well. Anime tends to have a broad range of audiences from the very young to the very old.
yes.
Hmm?
So yeah, basically anime is short for in common terms nowadays refers specifically to Japanese animation.
Hmm?
So of course, Western animation is just called cartoons, but actually, yeah, the word anime specifically refers to Japanese animation. So yeah, you could say it's the cartoons from Japan. And as John mentioned, unlike Western cartoons, cartoons in Japan actually are a lot more. They have a lot more depth to them than might be originally understood. Because there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, why do you watch anime even when you're older?" There is actually a lot of reason for that, and there's also a lot of reason why cartoons are less followed or rather Western cartoons are less followed as they as they get older. But I'd like to hear from the other sort. Anything else to add first to that basic understanding or definition of what anime is?
Uh, honestly, I
Be-
mean, I'm not sure how to define it. It's
mhm.
just I kind of know basically what anime is. It has a certain art style, like the
Yes.
the the eyes, enlarged eyes.
Yeah, like this, right? So
Yeah,
right now we do have an anime filter on, so we just got it from the internet, which is making us look like this. Obviously, we don't normally look like this.
no, but JB
No,
does.
JB does. JB does not have an anime filter on. That's his natural looks,
Yeah,
obviously.
people can sometimes
So,
wonder if I'm Japanese because of my middle name.
mm, yo, Yotoko, but no. Okay, so genres. So for anime, again, unlike a lot of Western cartoons, which kind of have a more specific you can cluster them quite similarly to each other. They're basically, oh, it's cartoon animation, generally is for kids. um Japanese anime has much more depth to them,
Yeah,
so which we can look into the different genres. So the big genres follow the same cuts, you could say. Like you have like these super categories. So you have shonen, which
yeah,
is basically for young boys, and for young girls it's
shoujo.
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 Hmm.
Shoujo, so basically for young ladies. And the main difference is that the comics for young ladies tend to be more about relationships and real life dynamics, so it's more of that kind of storytelling, whereas the shonen category is much more action oriented, despite the fact that there are lots of different kinds under that. Now, you also can apply the traditional or international quote unquote genres, which is like you have action, you have sports oriented, and all these things. I'd like, if you could, Geo, like
Yeah.
you have a few categories that you mentioned
Hmm.
before. What are the broad categories that are familiar to you?
Well, there are the action ones that falls under the shonen, or the ones that shonen usually goes as.
Yeah,
So the ones that go there are like Naruto, One Piece.
right, right.
Um, there's
Usually these
fantasy.
are the most famous ones too, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
Naruto, One
Right.
Piece, Bleach,
Yeah,
those mostly fighting anime.
Mostly
yeah,
fight, so action, a bit of adventure,
yeah.
and then
There are
the rest.
also, yeah, there are also like sports animes. So like the ones we mentioned earlier, Slam Dunk, Knockout, fall under there.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mean that one's pretty
IQ,
self-explanatory.
right?
Um, there are things called slice of life, which is basically just it just shows like a little like little bits and pieces of life the characters. Yeah,
It's
so
the most realistic.
they don't really have to be like it can be like a certain different story each time, but it's basically all just different parts of the characters' lives.
Yep, yep.
One of the more popular ones coming out is Isekai, which is
Hmm.
ayun, basically another world. So like any anime that has the main character in a different world from where they originally are, that's where it falls under.
Yeah. I just want to pipe in that isekai actually, although it hasn't really gained popularity. It gained popularity just recently, but it really I would say that one of the animes that started it was Dot Hack. Which is the first anime where the concept of the main character actually falling into or getting trapped into the world of
Different world.
a different world, a game world. No? And I think that's
Hmm.
why
Specifically,
it
yeah.
popularized. It actually also popularized MMOs in Japan and in other parts of the globe.
hmm There are also other more traditional isekais like Inuyasha, technically,
Yes.
and I believe what is that other one? The Escaflowne is also technically an isekai
Hmm.
because she's
I mean,
basically
even
a
Magic Knight Rebirth.
magic knight
Yes.
re-earth. Right, right, right.
Anyway, yeah, back
So
to the other
Oh, I
genres.
suddenly
There,
remembered El Hazard.
there are
El
other ones that are a little more mature. There are the drama, tragedy, even
yeah,
psychological thrillers.
yes. So those are also available in anime, which is definitely not a very child-friendly bunch of genres: horror
Yep.
and tragedy and dramas. And what else is there? What do you think is?
Comedies.
Yeah, comedies is there. So you have, just comedy stories, doing whatever is apparently funny. Of course, this comes from a Japanese cultural context, so what might be funny to them might not
Uh,
be funny to everyone, but usually it is still kind of uh,
It's
there's
still
still a lot
funny.
there's still a lot of cross cultural comedy that's quite visible. And then you have other genres which are more specific, like cooking, which is a subset of slice of life. So you
Yes.
have
yeah.
cooking anime and manga,
Are you going to
like
say it?
what? What? Cooking Master
Cooking
Boy.
Cooking Master Boy.
Cooking Master
Yes.
Boy was one of the
Such
original
a good
classics.
anime.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
covers Chinese cooking cuisines.
Hmm.
And then there's a more recent one is Shokugeki no Soma,
Yeah.
or Food Wars, which is a much more modern, and it has a lot of
Easy.
food science in it, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think still Cooking Master Boy the best. I think Food Wars has nothing on Cooking Master Boy. So fight me if
I
anybody
am.
disagrees.
We are not going
Sure
to
that
war.
happens to Flatulence.
We're not going to a food war tonight. So, but anyhow. So yeah. So
So yeah,
those
so
are
basically,
examples.
spans many different genres,
Hmm.
meant for both young and old.
Yes, yes. It has a lot of topics, and a lot of them actually can be very educational. Like, I know we just mentioned Food Wars, but apparently the guy who created it really studied um actual cooking stuff. So the science there, although it's super exaggerated for entertainment purposes, it's
the
actually
reactions.
yes. The reactions are. I'm like Nina here has a background in culinary, so she can attest to like the reality of the technology there.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
So
yep.
I agree with
it's
the
legit,
education part. Like for example, Slam Dunk, which is again my favorite anime.
right?
It's a basketball anime, right? And for those who know, I'm not really a basketball player, but I learned actually a lot from Slam Dunk. No? There were those segments in the anime where there's Dr. T who talks about the different aspects of basketball, and so I actually learned from that, and I started understanding basketball better. So actually, anime does have that carry that ability to educate others.
Yeah, there are a lot of
Yeah,
things in it. There's a ton of it because like there's even anime about um fashion.
there are animes about
Oh,
doctors.
I've watched that.
There's a bunch. There's anime about music, and some of the more serious ones teach music theory,
Hmm.
which is really interesting. Because it's
Um,
actually apparently a
what's that?
difficult subject.
Dodami Cantabile.
Well, that one kind of shows you a glimpse of the music world, and then you have other anime which is like about there's a lot like sports definitely is one of the
Oh yeah,
big
sports.
genres. There's a lot. So me and Gio both mentioned Knockout or Hajime no Ippo. So it teaches you about fundamentals of boxing
Hmm.
and gives you a little glimpse into some
The life of
some
a pro
yeah
boxer.
the life of a pro boxer. Not of course it's not super accurate, but it's generally kind of
Of
there.
course, there are exaggerated stuff to keep
Of
it
course,
exciting.
exaggerations, yeah. And then I remember the show Initial D, which is
Oh yeah,
exaggerated driving, and but that was fun, and it got
but
a
there
lot
are
of
stuff
people
there that
interested.
people do learn from it, like that inertia stuff.
Yes, so inertia science, and then so there, a lot of anime are like that. The more serious ones versus the more super powered comedic or high stuff ones. So there's a lot to learn that can be learned in it.
Cells at Work. You forgot to mention.
Ah yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
another
Very
another
Oh,
really good
that's
one.
right.
Odd.
Cells at Work. I really love that show. And with the newest season called Black, where they actually look at the body if it was not taken care of. So
Yeah.
it
It was a
actually
thing.
it's very educational. I mean, and I've seen like reaction videos from real doctors where they say that it's fairly accurate. No, they're of course they create personas for the characters, but generally speaking, it's very accurate now. So I think that's it's an interesting way of how anime really actually also educates its viewers.
It does. It does. So yeah, there's so many examples. So just to, yeah, we're just gonna stick with that. Nah, there are a lot of deep and educational things in anime, and a lot of them can be found in the appropriate genres. Usually the sports or certain types of slice of life types, which look into all these things from yeah from the different kinds of sports, all of the different kinds of sports, and there's so many of them, to different parts of life, cooking and baking, and even to things like fashion, like
Hmm.
clothes. Different genre. There are different genres which look at that: clothes, music, and other kinds of things. So it is actually quite educational, if you choose the right selection. Now, of course, the most popular ones tend to be those which are purely created for entertainment purposes, not edutainment. But yeah, and the ones with the high entertainment values tend to be the action, fantasy, sci-fi, types, which is was mentioned earlier, like One Piece, Naruto, and Boruto, the successor now, a sequel to it now, and then previously Bleach was pretty popular.
Hmm.
Other popular ones right now are My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan, and there's a bunch of others that are quite big on the market, like or Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon's Blade rather, is also very
Demon
popular.
Slayer.
Sorry, Demon Slayer, and these are all very popular ones. So super high on the action, great artwork, and epic storylines, great music, and all these things.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
that's the big world of anime as
So
it
yeah.
is.
Hmm. So before we move on to the next one,
All right.
next question, let's look into the comments.
Sure, let's
See
check.
what else everyone else has been sharing, like what animes they like.
Can you
Um.
take it, Gio? Go.
Oh yeah. So here's one from Alexandrov Charles Burser.
Wow,
Spirited
full
Away is the
name.
first isekai.
Ah, yes,
Mm.
Spirited Away. Spirited Away was created by a very famous director, si Hayao Miyazaki. Ah,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Wait, was that? Yeah, yeah, it was. It's a Ghibli production, right?
It's a Ghibli
Yep.
production.
So
Yep.
yeah, so it's one of the first major anime movies that broke into tama ba, the Oscars. It got into the Oscars.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, there you go.
Okay,
What else do you
let's
have
see
in
what
the comments?
let's see. Other people mentioned genres like mecha anime. So yeah, that
Mecha
definitely
anime.
popularized anime. I think because I think almost everyone when they think anime also think about Gundam.
Gundam, yes, and the
Mhm.
super robots.
Right. Uh,
Like what are the super robots?
Mazinger
Uh
Z.
Zinger Z, Daimos, there are other more recent ones, I think,
Voltes
but
5.
Voltes
Of
5.
course.
Oh man, yeah, we're
Yeah. Speaking of, there's a live action happening soon.
that the
Not live
Philippines
action
is
in the
working on.
Philippines. Yeah.
I am
We
going
are
to say this
hoping
on
it
the
goes
record
well.
that I am hoping for the best but not expecting the best.
We pray for the best, and let's leave it at that.
Prepare for the worst.
Prepare for the worst, but hope
Prepare
for
for the
the
worst.
best.
Hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Okay,
Yeah, and I think
so yeah,
for like mech anime, we mentioned Gundam. There's also Macross. I think that's
Of course.
we should
So yeah,
Macross,
there's
mention that.
another one that's very popular, Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann. Yeah, that
Yes.
was a very popular one. Yeah, it is very popular. This
Alright,
year Gurren
so
Lagann
uh here's a request from one of uh our
viewers.
viewers. Paki shout out po tong comment na to Gio. This is from Vincent Houson.
Okay,
Yun lang.
so that's it.
Pa-shout out.
Okay,
Grabe, shout out. Hi,
you
Vince.
you get a shout out. Sige, congratulations. Okay, so anything else
Wait,
before we
I
move
want
on
to
to the
read
second
out
question?
this comment from Eric Garcia who says, ang cute daw ni John Gaisano. He's kawaii daw.
For,
So,
okay, for all that,
one.
we're gonna talk about Ninay.
Okay, let's move along.
Anyway,
Moving
so
on.
Anyway,
we're not reading out in
Um,
the comments. We'll do that again later
all right, so
after
that's
our.
enough. That's enough for the moment.
Mhm.
So our second question. So now we've been talking about the different genres of anime, some of the positive qualities, and the fact that it's culturally rooted in Japan and Japanese thinking and mindset. Now, the second
Good
question, which
question.
we're gonna move into, is why is anime more controversial, and what differentiates it from cartoons? I think we sort of answered
Oh,
the differentiation
okay.
from cartoons. So unless you guys want to shed more on that, so let's tackle that first
Sorry,
because it seems to
sorry,
be the
I made
smaller
a mistake
question.
on the shout out pala. The comment that Vincent wanted me to shout out was Haikyuu best anime better than Slam Dunk. Fight me, John Joseph Yotoku.
I will
You're
fight
gonna
you.
have you can fight
that will be
off
off
screen,
camera, I
off
think.
camera. Yes.
No, we'll video
Okay.
the fight.
We'll video the fight and upload it afterwards. We'll subtitle it. Anyway, so yeah. So going back to the question, The second question is actually a set of two questions, which is why is it controversial and what makes it different from cartoons? I'm gonna flip it around because I think it's first. We already tackled the first one, which is that it has differences from Western, the typical Western cartoon,
All right.
and let's
Mm.
just clear that out. So, Gio, you wanna
No,
take
I was
that
just
on?
gonna say, since this is a little more serious question now, I'm gonna take off um
The
the filter.
filter. Oh no.
No!
Well,
Nani? なんだよ。
Obe wo Shindero.
yes. Was
お前は。
yeah. The question was about why is it controversial
Mm.
and what makes it different from cartoons, correct?
Yes, correct. Could you take lead
Yes.
on that? Let's start
Okay.
with
Okay.
the difference first between
What
cartoons.
what is different between cartoons and anime? Well, for one thing, the reason for cartoons, uh, I mean, originally they were made for the viewing of adults. I think they were even in cinemas.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, parang, it eventually evolved or evolved. I don't know what the word is. It changed into just something that was meant for kids, at least in the Western side's view.
Right.
While in
Western
with
culture.
anime, yeah, with anime, there's still a lot of adult viewers, and
Uh-huh.
a lot of the anime is still made with them in mind, like the um Attack on Titan, because with all the blood and stuff in it.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And
what
and
else?
the story itself is
Yeah, the
very
stories
very
itself are also very mature compared to what you get from um. Oh
Western
yeah,
cartoon.
from yes. What else is there? I mean, if you're talking about the story, there is a cartoon that's actually controversial. Then, but I'll talk. I mean, on if it's considered anime or a cartoon.
We can.
I think it
Yeah,
was
you can
mentioned
go
in
ahead.
the comments already. But we'll talk about that later.
Sure.
But I think one of the
Yeah.
things for me, one of the things that makes cartoon different from anime is that in most cases, not all, but in most cases, cartoons don't have a overarching storyline. They tend to be
Ah,
more
yes.
episodic. In most cases, again, most cases, don't fight me on this.
Limited to the one episode.
It
Yeah, this is a
usually
difference in Western storytelling versus the
yes.
Japanese storytelling.
But in Japanese animation, generally, most anime follow a major story arc with individual episodes. Individual episodes can stand on its own, but it still contributes to the major story arc. And in many cases, it runs like a drama, like a drama series, like what you would
Hmm.
watch in a Western drama series, right? But cartoons generally are different because they are targeted towards kids. There's usually no continuity. With of course a select few titles, but in general that's not the case for cartoons, and I think that's why it's a little bit controversial because there is a thought where anime is thought that it's still also for kids when actually most of it is really not.
No.
Correct. So yeah, sige. Nins, ikaw. What do you think?
Hmm? Me?
Yeah.
Yes, you.
What makes it
Um,
controversial? What makes
You.
them
Or
different?
what do you think is a big difference between Western cartoons versus Japanese anime?
mm, well, for me, art style then,
Right.
because
Right, right.
Hmm.
cartoons, it's like masyadong drawing,
Around.
and like compared to anime, it's like art, like it looks amazing, diba? And you can actually I don't know, just how they capture like mundane moments. Like yung mga ano like the drawings like of the trains lang, it looks so nice. Even the food, 'di ba? And
Yes.
then just compare that to regular cartoon. It's like meh.
Yeah. So okay, so we're seeing yung difference kasi sa audience. Now, so there's different things mentioned. I'll just kind of collect them. The difference from cartoons. So number one, the audience intended for the majority of Western cartoons today is towards young children. It is not designed, it is not created with the intention that most, but not all, are not created with the intention for adult viewing or for at least teenaged and up viewing.
Hmm.
Whereas in Japan, a lot of content is designed that it can and should appeal to people of teenage plus in age. So yeah, it should be appealing. Some are specifically designed for more mature audiences. So that because of that, more anime has production values which are quite different. So the animation quality is different, the art styles
Hmm.
and aesthetic quality is different, the details are different, the music quality is different. They actually tap a lot of mainstream um, bands and even orchestras to create the content. Now, of course, Western cartoons sometimes they also do apply this kind of production value, but it's usually a little more limited versus in Japan, which is they really have a lot of
Studios.
additional music studio work in comparison to the typical Western cartoon. Now, of course, there are some exceptions to this. There are a few that stand out, but we're talking about general patterns. And then,
Yeah.
lastly, what was mentioned is the storytelling style of Western cartoons and Japanese anime is quite different. In Western cartoons, it's actually quite similar to Western comics, even the Marvel and DC comics. If you notice, their superhero comics tend to have shorter, more episodic storytelling, whereas in the Japanese anime or Japanese manga, they tend to have longer running storylines, which usually have deeper development of characters in a single story arc from one point to the other. Whereas in Western storylines, they're kind of just they do have changes, but it's a bit cyclical. It's like it goes back again and again. So it's like a kind of like a sitcom style. So those are, I guess, the summary of the differences.
Hmm.
Now, answering the second half of the question, which is why is it more controversial? I think maganda yung flow. We look at the differences, and then the controversy comes from those differences, which is both good and bad. So, who would like to tackle this first for the
Um,
controversial
sige,
element?
I'll jump in. Um,
Okay.
I think one of the things that I've been watching anime, I think since I was in school. I used to watch a bunch of animes in the 90s, which I didn't identify as anime yet back then. No, I just it's something that I watch on TV. It has
Show.
animation style, so I just associated with cartoons, right? So 90s anime included a lot of adult themes, right? So if you are going to watch for example, Ghost Fighter, also commonly known as Yu Yu Hakusho, or Flame of
Hmm.
Recca, or what do you call this? What were the 90s animes? Even if you look at Voltes 5, for example, which is not even a 90s anime, it's a 70s, if I remember correctly.
Earlier, yeah,
Yeah,
70s, 80s.
it has very adult themes, right? And it really, uh, I watched it, and if you are a kid and you're watching adult themes that you don't understand, there is a strong tendency for us to follow or to mimic. And so I think that is one of the controversies, especially for parents, that these things are not for kids because they really aren't. But the way that it was marketed, especially in the early 90s, in the 90s and the early 2000s, they're for kids. Another
Hmm.
example I think would be, for example, Sailor Moon, which has a lot of controversy because it was marketed for kids, but then there are themes there that they could not explain. That's for kids. I think Ghost Fighter went through a similar thing where there are themes there they had a hard time explaining to kids. So
Mhm.
I think that's why there's a lot of controversy involved because there's a misunderstanding that these things were marketed for kids, but they're not actually for kids, right? And I think that's what
Yeah, they
No.
makes it
have very
controversial.
mature stories. Oo. Kasi maraming stories, there's a lot of stories in these anime which actually tackle on deaths and suffering, loss, which
Hmm.
is not commonly found in Western
Cartoons.
cartoons. So suddenly these guys are like, well, how do we explain the mom literally dying in front of them? Is that a child's story?
Right.
And
It's all.
a lot
Mhm.
of people don't realize that yeah, there are these kinds of stories in anime.
I think like for
It's just a
example,
difference in culture, really. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
kasi with Western, they don't really want to like talk about death or even these other things considered adult, like I guess attractions to the opposite sex, those kind of things.
Yeah, there's
Well,
a lot of romance also in anime, which is not as common or not as maturely depicted in Western anime. Sorry,
no,
Western cartoons rather. So, so yun.
yeah,
yeah,
you
I
don't get
think
much of that. No.
I think like for example, I think one of the most significant controversies I remember from Sailor Moon was the character of Neptune and Uranus, where
Sorry.
yes, Tinay. um, uh, where as you may or may not know, no, they in the original animation and in the manga, they were in a lesbian relationship, but because censors here in the
Yeah,
Philippines, and it's the 90s, right?
Hmm.
How do you explain
they
that to
didn't realize
kids?
that.
Right? So suddenly they became cousins, and I'm like, I don't know if that made it any better that they were cousins, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh
So
no. We in
I'm
Alabama now.
so I'm just saying that that becomes
No.
controversial in of itself. That becomes controversial, and if
It
I were
does.
a parent, I wouldn't want my kids exposed to that, right? Um, there was also the faux pas or with the voice acting for uh, Ghost Fighter for the character of Dennis, who became Denise for some reason because they thought she was female and then suddenly
Yep.
male. So like it becomes complicated and convoluted because of the
Was it
misunderstanding
because of the rose,
of the roles.
the
Yes.
Yeah,
mirror thing,
and
the
because of
mirror?
his
Yeah,
look, because
yeah.
the look of Dennis was is what you call a bishonen, right? Which is
Hmm.
a
A
very
beautiful man.
pretty, or beautiful man, to the point that the art style makes him look almost feminine. It makes him look a little effeminate, but they're actually still guys. So
Yeah, and I think this is very common. These
those
are
are
common
lost in
themes.
translation
These are
stuff.
the problem is that these are common themes that might appear in more adult anime, and but they were marketed to kids, so that's the problem.
Yes.
I and if and I can understand why a lot of people will see that this is it's a denigration of of our society, of our culture, of our religious beliefs, etc., etc., etc. But people tend to forget it's because it's not for kids. It was not intended for kids. While there are animes that are intended for kids, the ones that like are based off Western stories like I don't know, Sebi and Princess Sarah.
Oh
These
And
yeah.
I
were
think also Doraemon. Doraemon is quite
Doraemon. It was mentioned
Doraemon.
early on by Erickson. What's this?
Hmm.
Anpanman. These are all for kids, definitely, and you show that on. There's no problem. But then there are
Yeah,
really most of the
true.
ones that have become popular here, especially here in the Philippines, generally are not made for kids, and so it becomes very
They're made
controversial.
for high schoolers and onward, so teenagers and on. So yeah,
Can I interject?
yeah, yeah. Go, go, go,
Oh.
sir. Of course,
Okay.
please, please.
Because I
What do you got for us?
remember that a lot of parents had didn't know Demon Slayer was a was a violent
Yes, they
anime,
just saw the
Ah
popular
yes.
stuff.
and they made their kids watch it. You movie. I think it's either the first
Well,
one or the
not
second
really
one.
made, but made
But
slash let their kids watch it, and then there's a huge amount of violence and gore and pain there.
It's
yeah,
Though, what was the movie rated as, like in the cinemas?
PG-13, which
That's a
it
little
should
bit
be.
right. I think PG-13 might
But
be a
Either
little
way,
too
that
low
I
of a
mean,
rating.
it's still
it's
parental
technically
guidance.
correct. It's technically correct. But I think people took for granted na, oh, PG-13, hindi, cartoon lang yan. It's for
Yeah,
kids.
it's
Yeah,
And then
just
that's
a
when you
more
get
fun.
in
likely to
there,
be
when you
um
get in there, it's like
negligent.
this dismembered man, chopped heads, and like, oh
It's like
gosh.
some parents who got mad at Deadpool.
Yeah, but the thing is, Deadpool doesn't. They don't have an excuse for Deadpool because he's literally rated M for mature,
Hmm.
which actually very few movies are rated M for mature. In any case,
Yeah.
this
Uh
connects directly to the next question. No?
there's other controversies that Vince is pointing out.
Oh, sure.
I
Yeah, let's
see
go to that.
here about the episode that caused seizures. I think that this is one based on Pokemon.
Pokemon, I
Pokemon.
think.
There
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
was
the Porygon episode.
yes. So I
and that
remember that
that's
episode.
controversial.
It was super. It caused a lot of controversy. Actually, Pokemon has banned episodes, in the U.S. because of like one of the
Very strict.
Pokemon that looks like blackface. Um,
Oh yeah,
All
so
yeah.
right.
funny. And
No,
Yeah.
they
then
changed the color.
yeah, and then one of the characters,
Like,
what's his name? One of the Team Rocket guys, si James, where he
Yes.
yes, he basically he had an inappropriate attire in that episode, and these were banned, right? But
Yes. Yes.
because it's marketed towards kids, it has had to be. I agree naman, to be fair.
Yeah.
But
Although
there are themes
in
even
Japan, that's
in
normal.
Pokemon that doesn't really say it's not really for kids, and actually the audience of Pokemon have gone older. They're already older now. They're no longer
Yeah.
kids. Many of those original
Yeah.
viewers.
Despite the fact that it is presented, and it's actually still one of the more kid-friendly shows. I would say it's more appropriate to consider it a an older child. It's not for like younger children. It's for older children, like preteens, early teens kind of level might be acceptable. So that they'll be old enough to understand and be explained to. But it's not very easily recommended towards younger kids. In any case, that leads straight to our final question for the night, which is, how do we know if a particular anime is actually good to watch or not? And yeah, that's a good question, right? And I guess it depends on our what is our goal? Like, good for what intention?
yes.
Yeah,
Because that also is a big thing.
It's like if the whole point is to educate in certain topics, like the ones we are like a certain sport or
Those are
cooking.
easy. Those are easy
Hmm.
to push, right? So like if you want, yeah, correct. You want to educate them about useful, interesting things like cooking, sports. And the thing is, in these shows, there tends to be also positive values. Like in most sports anime,
Teamwork.
almost all sports anime, they emphasize teamwork. They emphasize
Friendship.
working hard. They emphasize, yeah, what Nina said, friendship. And what else did I miss? Like, what else do you guys see from these kinds of shows?
I think
Uh,
the question that comes to mind for me is, as a Christian, as a believer, as a follower of Christ, are these shows something that I should be watching, consuming, or should I be avoiding them, or am I just enjoying it for fun and entertainment and nothing more? I think, because we can't just simply say, oh, this anime is bad for you, blanket for everything, or simply say that you're not going to, because you're a Christian or believer. You can't just blanket that everything is bad or everything is good. I think it really depends. Again, I would say that it depends on the content of what you're watching, and I think that's why it's important to understand the different genres, different kinds of anime that you will come across, right? I remember when there was an anime, um, and I am highly saying no to watching this. I know that there are people who enjoy that anime. It's called Elfen Lied, Elfen Lied. I,
oh, that's
I
very
couldn't.
mature.
It was so bad. I had nightmares. I really had nightmares. I felt like this is content I cannot consume. My soul cannot stand it, and I felt like the spirit in me was saying, no, you shouldn't watch this. You shouldn't allow anybody to be watching this, and
Yeah. So just to explain that is because the content inside is very
it's very
uh,
graphic and it's very violent. And
graphic in its violence. Yes.
yeah, and I couldn't find a reason why you needed to do that. I think that's one of the things. I feel like a lot of content, a lot of content. It's not just anime. A lot of content on media, television, on online. A lot of content have content that's not necessary but is included. I will just briefly jump to, like, for example, Game of Thrones. That there's a lot of sex scenes involved in Game of Thrones when it's not necessary to the storyline. And if you read the
Yeah.
books, it's not necessarily that graphic. So and I think that's why we have to be discerning, I guess, in those kinds of things. But there are animes that I would say, like, for example, I could binge watch and I don't think I'll have a problem. Like, for example, I don't know, Detective Conan, which by the way, I like Detective
Oh
Conan.
yeah,
Which
I
is
could
also a
binge.
mature.
great.
Which is actually also mature.
It's
Also
actually a
mature.
mature
It
show.
may feature a kid, but
Yes, but it is a mature
generally
show.
it shows
But
murders.
I would say that you have a character here who's out for justice, who is on the side of good, and there are clear cut lines of who is good, who is bad, right? And I think
Hmm.
Yes.
we need more things like that. I think today's society, we also there's a lot of media now that blurs the lines between who is good and who is bad, what is good and what is bad, and making characters that are villains being suddenly they're sympathetic. We have to be sympathetic towards their plight, and some villains are just villains. I mean, you don't need to
Yeah.
create stories for that. So yeah, I think those there are a lot of things to consider, but definitely one anime is not the same as the next. So you need to have a
For
level
sure.
of discernment, I guess, when
Hmm.
you are considering to watch a certain anime.
If you're gonna be, yeah, if you're trying to look for something appropriate for your kids, which I think is most the biggest point of this,
Yeah. Biggest point
yeah,
for most people. Most people.
is well, I mean, obviously you can't just first of all just because it's anime. I mean, I think we've made that point. Just because it's anime doesn't mean it's for kids. So obviously you have to do your research. Um, honestly, like a lot of them have different. There's certain stuff. I mean, or categories that fall that you should really not. If you that really shouldn't be for kids. Like I think there's the one that's called etchi or something. Definitely not for kids.
Yes.
Hmm.
So just
So
just to throw that in, it's because the Japanese they play very fast and loose with sexual teasing and depictions in their
mhm,
comedy. So even comedic uh, shows or series can have these things in it. So
right.
you have to be prepared to deal with that kind of possible visual content. So yeah, this is another evidence that the artwork here is actually oriented towards, again, more mature audiences than just kids. So you would have to be prepared for those kinds of things.
I think it has to do really with the kind of culture that the Japanese have. The Japanese are generally not how do you call it? They're not expressive themselves. So a lot of people might even use the word that they're repressed. So where does it come out? Because it has to come out somewhere. It tends to come out in their entertainment. I think
Yeah,
that's why they have
Very
game
true.
shows that have what do you call that? That I would almost say is sadistic. When I watch them, I laugh so hard, but it feels so sadistic.
Like
At
Silent Library.
Yeah, exactly. Or like that one where they lead a celebrity into a fake elevator and it has a false bottom and they fall into a
Oh,
chute. It's like,
and they slow mo it.
yes, they slow mo
I
it is
it,
love that one.
scary. So
and I'm
yeah,
like, what?
so the entertainment in Japan tends to have these hyper expressive outlets of their cultural stress. So it's a thing to be aware of. It's a thing to be aware of.
Yeah, and so that's why it comes out in their entertainment. It's not just in entertainment. It comes out in, like, for example, anime. It comes out in even in their live action dramas. You will see that there are themes that I would say that even in the Western world they would go. But it's actually in the Japanese drama, or it's in the Japanese anime.
Hmm. All right. So what else? Any other thoughts? How would you judge whether an anime is good to watch? So we've heard from the guys. I'd like to have at least one moment for Nina in this one. Uh,
One
No,
moment
yeah,
in time
for
for Nina.
for you.
but
Mhm.
I'm monitoring the comments. Okay, fine. It's,
I'll do that for you. Don't worry. Go.
Yeah, we got you covered.
um, how do I? Well, as long as okay, in a perspective of a Christian, as long as it doesn't make me, well, like what JB said, you you know when you're watching something that is not pleasing to the Lord, because the alarms are like just going crazy. You should stop watching this. So it's not, it can be like graphic um stuff, like too violent, or is it too sexual in a way? And sorry, I looked at the comments, distracted. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's how you will know how, kasi the Holy Spirit naman will really alarm you naman if you
Mm-mm.
shouldn't watch some.
Yeah, that's true. So borrowing from that point, tama naman. Basically, they're saying like whatever is pure, diba? Admirable, etc. Focus your mind on these things. And to be fair, there are some content in anime which are quite useful, as we've mentioned. So you have to screen or go through the content, especially if you plan to watch them with your kids.
Yeah, I agree
So
with
at
that.
least
I
be
think
prepared to answer the question.
I know there are some parents who actually do that, even watch with their kids.
Yes.
yeah,
So you have
I
to be
think
prepared for those things.
it is irresponsible for anyone to just oh, it's anime, let's watch it. I mean, I think, especially if we're talking about kids, right? I think we should have a level of research of what is the story about, what's the content. I mean, the basic content, the theme, so
Mm.
you can make a proper decision whether or not it's something that you want to watch. One of the animes that's popular right now, and we mentioned it earlier, Attack on Titan. Um, I personally, and this is not for everybody, I personally decided not to watch it. Not because it's bad per se. It's just that there are themes there that I just don't like. So, and it's not a bad thing. Sometimes I see snippets. Because I have a basic idea of what it is about, so I understand. But it's not like, wow, I have to watch Attack on Titan, right? It doesn't give me that. And but that's because I also did my research. I took a look at what the anime is all about, what are the ideas or themes that's going on, and there are some interesting parts about it. But overall, I just decided, I don't want to watch it. And that has nothing to do with whether it's really good or not. But it's really, if we are looking at whether an anime is good or not, then we have to be discerning enough to actually read what it's about. To look it up and find out what it's about. Especially if we have kids who just want to watch any anime. And let's face it, the way anime is still being marketed in the Western world and in the Philippines, it's marketed towards kids, even if it has adult themes, right?
Hmm.
I'm showing here. Parents should read the manga first, and I think I agree with that. With a lot of anime, most anime is based on manga. It's based on a graphic novel, so you can actually take a look at that and what it's about. If you like the manga, then you're probably gonna like the anime. If not, then you're not gonna probably like the anime either. Uh, So yeah, I think that's really the important part. It's everybody's responsibility to take a look and find out more about the anime that you're watching or you're letting kids watch before you jump to conclusions whether it's good or bad.
All right. So yeah, because there are a lot of content out there which are yun, definitely more mature or more nuanced as you go through it. And actually, yung na-mention mo yung Attack on Titan, di ba? This was one of the examples Dina I mentioned earlier of the things he's watching. And yeah, so there are content there that you would have to apply, how do you say, wisdom talaga na parang, okay, is this something that would affect me? Does it affect other people the same way? How does it affect other people? Because there are some people na, or there's some content that for one person, okay lang. For the other person, malaki yung effect. Diba? So, ayun. So, for the longest time, I actually didn't go watch, for example, yun, Attack on Titan is one of those I avoided for a long time. Eventually, I managed to get a hold of the manga and I went through it. I'm like, okay, ito pala yun. So, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Um, but yeah, definitely still a very, very non-child friendly storyline and theme. It's quite morbid actually. So it's a very, I would say, adult thinking because there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of violence, and a lot of disturbing scenes for a young kid to take in. So ayun.
I, I wanna mention something that one of our commenters, Shyla, mentioned here.
Yeah, let's go from that.
I really liked it. It's sometimes it's not really about how bad or good the content. It's how it makes you feel watching it, because some anime storylines can be depressing, and I agree. I think for the most part, a lot of us watch anime so that we can entertain ourselves and enjoy and distress from life's troubles. And I think in moderate amounts, the Bible is actually okay with us resting and enjoying ourselves. But when it starts affecting how we feel, how we think, then you might be having a problem there. And there are animes that might have storylines that can personally affect you, your mental state and your emotional state. And I think when that happens, then we need to stop, I guess, and really reevaluate whether or not this is something that you should continue watching. As Nina said, sometimes the spirit will send off alarms. Woo! Stop it! Stop it! Stop watching! Right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
So I mean, are we gonna go to the comments one last time?
Well, just to wrap this up before we go to the comments, are there any parting statements on this line? Actually, maganda nga yung ending point na sinabi ni John.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to end that
Yeah.
question already.
Hmm.
Yeah, generally, generally they're not all bad, but some of them can make you feel differently despite it not,
Make you feel
in a
differently.
general sense, not bad, but it can make you feel differently
Sad.
or uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's like songs, right? So
Mhm.
certain songs make you feel happy. Certain songs are less like wallowing in negative emotions, and
Mhm.
you have to know, like, okay, what kind of thoughts do these material generate? What kind of thoughts do they provoke? What kind of feelings do they provoke? And I don't know. I mean, honestly, as the most that doesn't sound right. Feeling emotionally expressive person here. I kind of wish I could just pass this, but hello,
I
because
find
I'm not the
What?
most. Nah,
I think
yeah,
I think at the end of the day,
guilty rap.
it's really about understanding what the content of the anime is, and then whether it's something that as Christians we should be watching or not. And And then at the same time, I think it's also important to understand that a lot of people our age and even younger are watching anime. And as Christians, I think it's important to be able to also understand what they're watching, what they're into, because it affects their culture as well. And I think, especially as me, for example, I'm someone who disciples others. I need to know what are they watching, what are they exposed to, so that I know how to also properly
Really.
advise and engage, and things like that. I think that's really
Speak your
Yeah.
important as well.
language.
And I think, John, you're a parent, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Yep.
it's
Yep.
important to know, is your kid watching anime? What anime is he watching? I think that's important for you, right?
What are the principle I'd like to borrow here is actually from Pastor Peter's book, and this is good for parents, which is um, you have to enter the world of the child. So this also applies to other people. If you want to build a relationship with someone, if you want to connect with someone, you have to enter their world,
Hmm.
and then that's when you form your bonds. And then when you get there, then you can exert uh, influence, and that's where you can share how Christ can connect to them in that world. So yeah, I think that's a good end for the night.
Yeah.
And to
We'll
wrap
just take a
up, we'll take a look at the comments. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
I find it
um,
funny that the comments has devolved into a discussion on Attack on Titan.
yeah. So
To be
I mean, there are
fair, to
few.
be fair,
There.
Attack on
Mhm.
Titan is very thought provoking.
It
It
is
Like
very
is. It
thought
is.
It
It
makes
is.
you
is. To be
really
very
fair.
very
think.
To be fair, I'm not, guys. Just so we're clear, I'm not disparaging Attack
Yeah.
on Titan. Okay, I'm just saying that I made the conscious choice not really to follow it. That's just me. So
Oh yeah.
to make that example, that because I just not I just, it wasn't for me. That's it. That's really just it. Not that it was bad or good or whatever, but it a lot of people say it is thought provoking, and I agree. And if it can provoke thoughts, then you can enter discussion.
It can definitely provoke a lot of thoughts.
Mm. Anyway, to the comments nga.
Yeah, let's take a few
One of the
thoughts.
things I've noticed or remembered, because this was like one of the questions shared to us in our survey form.
Mm.
It's from Erickson. Yeah, but they noticed that there is an uptrend of trying to make villains more acceptable.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's actually a
but,
question
but
which we
I would
discussed.
like to save that for another podcast. But just to share
Oh
that
yeah,
we actually see the comment, we are, yeah, just to, yeah,
that's
just
okay.
to,
What we can do is we can pick up some of these questions, and just guys, we're gonna say it right now. We are going to have a second podcast. It's a part two, and in part two, we are going to tackle the question of what are specific thought-provoking themes in anime on a deeper level. So, like we just mentioned that in passing now, oh, this and that is kind of is a mature content. In the next podcast on anime, we are going to examine like more common themes that we see as very thought-provoking, very
Yeah.
interesting, and very gray area, so to
Yeah,
speak.
I think, like, for example, we mentioned the Attack on Titan. I would always want to bring up Evangelion, which actually picks up from biblical themes, right, and how it's
Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
actually represented on the screen, right. So I think that's something that we
yes.
should I want to talk about as well.
We will have
And
that.
there are actually a lot of anime, and this is so funny because although Japan is mainly a Shinto Buddhist country, um, the religion has played a key part. Christianity has played a key part in their culture, and it can be seen in a lot of their imagery, where they take a lot of Christian imagery into their anime. In fact, in a lot of
Right.
cases, getting married, for example, it's popular to get married in a church in Japan,
It is.
right? And
It
it's a
is.
Christian church. Often it's a Catholic church, but it's very very common right now. So I think that's
So
something
there's a
that we
lot of
should know.
ways, yeah, that it integrates. Very interesting. It's a culture.
Yeah. So I think we'll take a look into that a little bit more, because I think that deserves more time.
Yes, deserve it more time. So again, second episode. We're gonna be doing it in 2 weeks. We're gonna be diving deeper into the
uh,
interesting themes within anime.
Actually, we'll do it in a month's time because
Or,
we have a special
yes,
podcast
yes.
in 2 weeks. We actually have
Ah,
a
really?
esports guest. Yes, I'm just now saying it to you
Oh,
guys.
right, right.
So we have an esports guest
Esports.
that will be joining us in 2 weeks. So we'll be talking about the esports industry, and hopefully
Mhm.
that's something that you would enjoy. So yeah. That being said, are there any other comments that we missed out that we should be talking about?
Let me see. Let me see. There's some stuff about Full Metal Alchemist. That's another one that's also really good.
Also a GIF that was,
Oh
too
no,
Yes.
soon.
too soon.
It's
Is that
all.
an
Always too
FMA
soon for
GIF?
Oh,
that.
Is that a certain dog?
yes, a certain dog.
Yes,
It's
that's
a
too
certain
soon.
Let's see.
scientific railgun. I'm kidding.
Too soon.
Let's see. Some listed in the popular culture right now. Boku no Hero. Yes, that's very popular.
It is. It
Actually,
has good. It has good themes too. Actually, really good music also. Anyhow, that's a good one.
let's see. From Ian. This is from Ian. I watch anime because I want to get a glimpse of other world views. Yes,
Yes.
just
Yes,
like watching movies and
you do.
playing games. Yes,
You can.
yes. Just like yung ano yun? So it helps me as a Christian to get to know their worldview. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yes. Very open-minded uh,
Statement.
consumer.
Yes.
Well, somebody mentioned JoJo's Bizarre Adventures in the in the
Yeah.
comments.
JoJo's
That
Bizarre.
is not for kids.
No,
Yes.
not for kids. It
No.
has.
Definitely.
It has some good themes, very interesting themes to explore. But no, not for kids.
I want to share an anecdote.
Theme can be put into another. I think the theme that are interesting could be put in somewhere else. Oh yeah, and just to put it out there, the one that we were talking about, the anime slash cartoon controversy thing, was
Yes.
Air Avatar: Last
Last
Airbender,
Airbender.
Yeah.
because it obviously was made by Western studios.
Studio. Right.
It follows more on the tropes and art style of anime. Because like not unlike a Western cartoon, it actually is a long storyline that spanned 3 seasons.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I wanted to end it with an anecdote. I remember a friend of mine was sharing where another friend was asking for a recommendation on an anime to watch with his family. And the anime that was recommended by this other friend of theirs said, "Oh, you should watch this, blah blah blah. It's a good anime, etc." But did not really go into the details of the anime. So, and this guy, oh, okay, he picked it up. This put it on TV and watched with the family before, like the first few minutes, realized, oh, this isn't family friendly. It had what do you call that? It had themes where it was what do you call this? Uh, of a sexual nature. So it was kind of, the term is ecchi, right? So it was last minute that he found out that, and he was with his parents, he was with his siblings, and then they were watching it, and so he felt so embarrassed because he was the one who recommended it to the family. And I realized that that's the problem. We take on we look at anime and we just decide without actually taking a look at what is it all about, without discovering it for ourselves first. And so we end up
without
in a
giving
situation that
examination.
yes.
Someone's asked you to say the title though.
I believe that
No, we're not.
should
Did
I?
Anyway.
I don't think I should.
I think I deleted it.
So I don't think I should. But it has the word
No.
Bible in the title.
Oh.
So
Anyway, but yeah, we will save these other topics for next time, 1 month from now.
Yes, we will. We will cover that.
But yeah, but we just wanted to acknowledge these things just so you guys know. Wait, sorry.
That we did not
That we are not ignoring them and we have read them.
So yeah, we are
Where
going
is
through
that
the
pen?
questions, and I think maybe John or yes, it's embarrassing. Maybe John or Gio can post the link to our questions on the chat thread, right?
Ah,
So
the Google survey form.
yes, yes. So if you have
Yes.
more questions for us, go
Yeah,
ahead
that's
and
John's
go
site if you need it.
into the Google form. Just link it and we'll link it into the comment thread. And then yeah. And if just watch out, you just if you this is the first time you're landing on Level Up Game Nights, make sure to click on the like button for Level Up and follow us, right? And we're producing content regularly. I also have a YouTube channel, The Christian Geek, which is connected to Level Up. You can
Mm-hmm.
search it, and I'm broadcasting it there, but I also have my own content, right? So there we go. Yes. So what else,
Hi,
guys?
Kim.
I think that's
Nice
it.
filter stuff.
Hi Kim, thanks
That's
for
it.
joining us, Kim, and thank you for everybody for
Kim
joining
is
us
here.
tonight.
Yeah, call outs.
All right, so that's
Just
it,
wrap
guys.
things up.
Oh, and don't forget, we are on Discord. If you want to talk about it more, we're on Discord. You just need to go
Yes,
to
sir.
invite.gg/lugn. Our chat moderators will kindly put that into the chat. Just click on it, and then you can join us on Discord, talk about other topics as well, not just anime, games, comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever it is. If you're a geek, join us. If you're not a geek, join us anyway, because we'd love to talk to you. All right. So I
Yep,
guess
that's true.
that is it, and I will ignore Vince's last comment because I don't
All right.
agree. All right. So again, this is
Thinking night.
John B with you, and together I have introduce yourselves, guys. Wow, introduce yourselves.
We have
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
or last. Who wants to go
Or
last?
last.
Oh,
I
whatever.
will go last. I'll go
Fine, I'll
last.
go. I'll go. I'll go.
Best for last.
This is me. What are you saying? We're saying bye. You just sing our name.
Just say my
Bye. Bye.
Oh, hi. How do you say bye in Japanese anyway? See, clearly I'm not reading.
sayonara or
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
jamata ne.
Ja, Jane.
Bye guys.
Wakaranai.
Konbanwa. Konbanwa.